Hasan and Cenk just learned a brutal lesson about free speech nobody wants to admit. Look at this. Two political commentators spend years telling millions of people that words matter, that speech has power, that rhetoric shapes society, that narratives influence reality. Then suddenly the British government says, fine, we agree. And now they're shocked because Hassan and Cenk say they have been banned from entering the UK after their travel authorizations were revoked by the Home Office. They were due to appear at events including SXSW London and Oxford-related speaking engagements. And instantly, the internet exploded. Censorship or authoritarianism, the death of free speech, the collapse of liberal democracy. Everybody calm down, because there is a conversation here that people keep refusing to have, honestly. A country is not obligated to let every foreign political activist, commentator, influencer, preacher, agitator, ideologue, or professional outrage merchant enter its borders. That has never been true. Wait, it gets worse. Because both men immediately argued that the decision was connected to their criticism of Israel. Now, maybe that played a role, maybe it didn't. The government says their presence was considered not conducive to the public good. But here's the part that fascinates me. People keep acting as though criticism of Israel is the only reason anybody could possibly have concerns about these figures. Really? Let's be serious. Hasan has spent years playing with fire. This is not a man whose public reputation revolves around careful, restrained language. This is somebody who has repeatedly built an audience through provocation. The internet remembers. People brought up the America deserved 9/11's controversy, comments about Hamas, comments about Orthodox Jews, repeated inflammatory rhetoric surrounding terrorism and geopolitics. Now, whether you think those comments were taken out of context is another discussion, but pretending they don't exist is ridiculous. Cenk isn't exactly a diplomat either. Then we have Cenk, a man who built an entire media empire around confrontation. Again, you don't have to agree with banning him, but don't sit here acting confused about why governments might view highly polarizing political commentators as potential public order risks, especially in a country already dealing with protest tensions, anti-Semitism concerns, community tensions, political radicalization, debates. Governments constantly make risk calculations. That's literally part of what governments do. Free speech is not free movement. This is the logical mistake people keep making. These are not the same thing at all. Let's say something very clearly. Freedom of speech means the government generally cannot punish you simply for expressing opinions. It does not automatically mean every nation on earth must grant me entry regardless of my public conduct. Those are completely different concepts. A British citizen has rights inside Britain. A foreign political commentator does not automatically possess an unrestricted entitlement to enter the country. The airport thought experiment. Let's use a simple philosophical test. Imagine a foreign activist. Any ideology you want, left wing, right wing, religious, nationalist, revolutionary. Imagine they spend years making inflammatory comments that generate controversy internationally. Now imagine Britain says, we don't want this person entering. Is that automatically censorship? Or is it immigration control? Because those are different categories, massively different categories. The internet has broken people's understanding of borders. This is another issue. People increasingly behave as though international movement is some kind of universal human entitlement. It isn't. Countries deny entry constantly, every year, for criminal records, extremist links, public order concerns, immigration concerns, security concerns. The UK recently blocked far-right activists using very similar reasoning. So unless somebody wants to argue borders should literally cease functioning, they already accept the principle. They're just arguing over where the line should be. The irony is incredible. And honestly, this is the part I find funniest. Hasan and Cenk both come from political traditions that constantly emphasize words have consequences. Correct. They do. Exactly. Words have consequences. That principle does not suddenly disappear because the consequences become personally inconvenient. You can defend their right to speak and still accept reality. This is where people lose all ability to think. You can simultaneously believe Hassan should be allowed to express his views. Cenk should be allowed to express his views. Criticism of Israel is legitimate governments should protect free speech. And the UK government retains the sovereign right to refuse entry to foreign nationals. Those positions are not contradictory. The real question is public risk. The actual debate should be, did the government assess the risk correctly? That's the serious discussion. Not this childish, if somebody was banned, free speech is dead. No, the question is whether officials reasonably concluded their presence could contribute to tensions. That's a policy argument. Social media has created celebrity immunity culture. This is another strange phenomenon. Influencers increasingly believe audience size grants immunity from consequences. Millions of followers, huge platforms, massive reach, and eventually some begin acting as though governments must accommodate them regardless of circumstance. No, popularity is not diplomatic status. Every country draws lines. This is what people keep pretending not to understand. Every nation excludes people. America does it. Australia does it. Canada does it. Britain does it. The disagreement is never about whether countries should have the power. The disagreement is about who gets excluded. That's the real argument. Personally, I find the reaction more interesting than the ban itself. Because what we're really watching is a collision between two ideas. The first idea, I should be free to say controversial things, fair enough. The second idea, no institution should ever respond to those controversial things. That's where the argument starts falling apart. Because actions have consequences, speech has consequences, reputation has consequences, public conduct has consequences, and governments make decisions based on perceived consequences all the time. Now, you do not have to agree with the Home Office decision. You can think it was excessive. You can think it was politically motivated. You can think it sets a bad precedent. That's a legitimate debate. But what I find bizarre is the shock, the genuine surprise, as though two of the most controversial political commentators on the internet cannot understand why governments might scrutinize them. And honestly, that's the irony that keeps making me laugh. These are men who built careers analyzing power, institutions, rhetoric, political influence, and public narratives. Yet they seem stunned by one of the oldest realities in politics. Words matter. Governments react to words. Institutions react to words. Countries react to words. And sovereign states reserve the right to decide who enters their territory. You don't have to like that reality. You don't even have to agree with it. But acting shocked that controversial speech can influence immigration decisions is like acting surprised that fire produces heat. Because whether people celebrate this decision or condemn it, one fact remains unchanged. The UK government decided their presence was not in the public interest. And that decision itself is a reminder of something both men have spent years discussing. Words are not weightless, they travel, they linger, and sometimes they arrive at borders before you do.